So just go from one to the other, and maybe I can comment on some. So just, this is the first presentation. I've never written a book, I've never commented, it's just enjoying it so much, and I don't have time to share it with anyone. Anyway, I love motorcycles, and in 1997 I raced with a couple of friends of mine the 24 hours of Montmeló, which is a race course in Barcelona, 24 hours non-stop. And we had very much fun, and at the dinner we all got drunk, of course, and said, well, what's the next step? And somebody said, well, let's do a around the world trip. So, well, that's impossible. And of course, like you, when I hear the words, it's impossible, that's when adrenaline starts to work in you. So what we did, we are all business people, we decided to divide the world in 20 legs of about 2 weeks each and 3,000 kilometers each. And made a plan, a grill, and then said, well, let's put the different people who want to participate. They pay 1,000 euros each for all the expenses to moving the bikes, etc., etc. And with this, I went to BMW and said, can we get 4 bikes just for this round the world trip? And they immediately said, yeah, that's a great idea. And they gave us 4 bikes plus all the repair, except accidents. So desgaste, how do you say desgaste?
Wear and tear.
Wear, yeah. And things that break down and guaranteed, but not accidents. So then we went to see different tire companies. They gave us tires. Then we went to see Nikon. They gave us cameras. We went to see satellite. So we got, at the end, we got all technical equipment from the different companies for free. And then we started. We started in Madrid. We went down to, are you sort of showing?
Yeah.
Yeah, very good. If there's any picture you want me to comment on, I'm happy to do that. And then we started in Madrid, went down to Dakar, then we put the motorbikes in the container to Rio de Janeiro, which was a big mistake, but I'll get to this later. From there we went down to Tierra del Fuego, to Ushuaia, from there up to Canada, and again in the container into Beijing. I think it was what's the name of the harbor? Anyway, the harbor, and from there to the whole of China, Mongolia, Russia, at that time Soviet Union, and then Cape North, and then back down to Spain. It was a trip of 1 year and 2 months, so 14 months, 80,000 kilometers, 4 bikes, and a total of 80 riders, and we were changed. So the motorbikes did the round the world trip, and the riders, each one weighed 1 leg. But the idea was that each rider, each executive, each businessman got the feeling that he had done a round the world trip. And I can guarantee you, after 2 years, everybody had done the whole trip. Oh, we're talking about this and this, and fascinating. That's what you want. You know, that people really get the feeling that they. Obviously, there was another one who's done the round the world trip, which was Ewan McGregor. I'm sure you've seen the films of it. With all modesty, his trip had nothing to do with what we did. We had no support, we had no cars, it was just us. And what we did, we had everybody trained to repair the bikes, so everybody had to go through a 2-day course, mechanical course, first aid course, so if you break your collarbone, which is something that happened, or you break all the things you had to do, and a communication course. So it did take a commitment by the people who wanted to do that. But everybody just loved it. It was just unbelievable what intensity everybody wanted to be part of this deal. So it's like in the classes which I'm sure you listen to the tribu syndrome. No? Everybody wants to be part of the tribe. And then we made obviously all these shirts and all things around it, and it was ultimately brilliant. So these are part of the more difficult parts of the trip. Actually, this one is an American who joined us. We are basically Spaniards. I can tell you one experience is that you cannot have different nationalities in a round the world trip. Like in many relationships, let me introduce you, by the way, Anna from the United States. Close friend of mine. It's very difficult, an American and a Spaniard, isn't it?
It is very.
Are you frustrated sometimes with me? It's impossible.
It doesn't happen.
But even Spaniards have problems. So, is anybody from Catalonia here? Yeah. Even a Catalan and an Andaluz, as I'm sure you will testify, it's very difficult. Like when you have to get up at 7 in the morning, have breakfast, make sure that the bikes are everything ready. The people of Andalusia are more relaxed. The Catalans are very like the Swiss, very mathematical. So it's very difficult. But anyway, it worked out very well. and we basically had never a problem on this first trip, which we did around the world. Around the world trip. And immediately when we finished, BMW said, well, would you like to do it another time? I said, well, let me relax for maybe a year. But a year later, we did exactly the same thing. So it was a formula that worked. People just loved it. BMW, as a result of that, made a lot of advertising and films and videos and
interviews.
They did interviews. They sold a lot of bikes. And we had to pay the travel ourselves. And I went to see Iberia, and they told us that buy the cheapest ticket to wherever you go in the world, and we will make an upgrading. So what they did the upgrading. They couldn't give us free tickets. But anyway, that worked out between British Airways and American Airlines and Iberia. We sort of covered most of the part of the world. So with this concept, we started to do the second trip, which was very similar, and we obviously choose a very different route and different people. Some of them repeated, but most of the people we wanted to have new people in the deal. In the first trip, I think we had 80 spots, and we had maybe 200 applicants, which is great fun because you can. I took it very seriously because it's a dangerous, complex thing.
Gerardo, your second trip was that one?
This is, I think, the first trip. This is the first. Look, that's the beginning now.
Yeah.
This is the first trip. So we started, as I explained here. Sorry, I told you about the second trip. The first trip we went to New York. There I have to tell you a funny story. And then across America, up north and down here. Sorry. Back, and from here to Australia. Then Islamabad, just 2 weeks before there was a bomb. You remember there was a church. And then into China, and then here, Cape North Bay, back here. That was actually that was the second trip. To Australia we only went once. Very complex to get into Australia. Borders are obviously always difficult, but in Australia there's a law that there cannot be a rusted, oxygenated part on a bike. And when you go through Mauritania with the heat on the beach, the salt and the sand, obviously immediately something happens. So we really had a problem getting our bikes into Australia. Then the insurance doesn't work there. So it was this is Alaska. Alaska is unbelievable. It's nothing. These roads in winter, they're closed. This, by the way, you may know him. He's the son of Jordi Pujol. I think there's a picture of him in jail. Yeah, that's Jordi Pujol hijo. His name is Josep Pujol. Yeah. He's actually a very nice guy, but obviously the family is now a big disaster. But anyway, so look how beautiful. This is Lake Louise in Canada. The trip is just unbelievable. Unbelievable. Look, this is Alaska. This is Argentina.
Argentina?
Yeah, this is Argentina. Lago Buenos Aires. Yeah, beautiful. And this is Nigeria. No, the Niger River. Yeah. And this is with the cars, because then after 3 round the world trips, or after the second trip, Land Rover came to me and said, well, can we do the same thing with Land Rovers? I said, yes, of course. So we did 2 trips at the same time, totally different routes, but crazy. I'm not even sure how we managed to do that. But we did exactly the same concept, which works very well. And obviously we started to have, this is wonderful, in schools in Mali and Burkina Faso. We went to schools and everybody was forced to bring either sunglasses or medicine or school books to the schools in these countries. Fascinating how they visit. This is Timbuktu. And let's stop here for 1 second. This was there are obviously millions of stories. But here we got to, we were in Senegal, we were in Mauritania, and we had to cross the Niger River into Senegal. And of course, like typical, we arrived on the motorcycles, or with the cars in this case, and the ferry had just left. And then we had the choice of either waiting until 5 in the afternoon when the second ferry of the day goes, or pay the men some money to take us over. And a friend of mine who was with me then, he's now the chairman of Barclays, Carlos Martinez Campos, so me, Gerardo, we have to take a decision. Either we are students and no money, or we are executives with a lot of money but no time. So we're students with no money but a lot of time, or we are businessmen with lots of money, no time. We all agreed that we're business people, so we paid the man maybe, I don't know, $50, and he made a private trip for us. But during the trip across the river, he called his friend who's at the border at the other side, and when I arrived there, he said, well, I'm sorry, the border is closed until 5 o'clock in the afternoon when the next ferry comes. But if you pay us, what did you pay for them, $50? If you pay me $50, I open the border for you. So it was the revenge from the Africans to the European invaders. Yeah. So that was true. As you can see, lots of fun. This is the road from Nouakchott to Noidou. Isn't this fascinating? It's at that time, now they built a small road, cemented road inside. But until 5 years ago, this was the only road from across Africa. Did you know that there's no road between North America and South America? Still today. It's something called the Tapón de Darien, the Darien Gap. It's about 100 kilometers south of Panama. It's the end of the road, and it starts in a small village called Turbo in Colombia. And neither the Colombians nor the Panamanians want to build a road. There were some American engineers that came and started measuring, they were all killed. Yeah.
And how do you do?
Sorry?
How do you do? If there's no routes, you go by?
Yeah, you have to take a boat.
Boat.
Yeah, you have to take a couple of years ago there was a ship, a ferry, but that collapsed. Business-wise, there was no deal. In one of the trips, I took an airplane from Panama to Barranquilla, and what they did is they put you with your weight on the scale, and you pay $1 per kilo. I paid $350, and then you have to inflate the tires because of the air, the tire, and you have to take off the battery, which of course you pay taking off the battery. They say no, the battery cannot go on the plane because if it collapses, there's ácido. So you paid them $5, and you could keep the battery inside. By the way, the bribes is something which obviously we experienced in the first trip. In the second trip, we falsified 1,000 shirts of Real Madrid in China for, I don't know, 10 cents a shirt. And it was lo más cutre, how do you say cutre? Kinky?
Cheesy.
Cheesy. So we had the name of Beckham in front instead of in the back, with in the front. Beckham was at that time the most sexy soccer player.
Right.
And then we had, of the whatever country we went, we had friendship between Spain and that particular country on the Real Madrid shirt. Yeah. And we never had to pay any fine, we never had to pay any bribe. Everywhere we got to the border, we gave 2 shirts to that person, and no, please come first, and never a problem. Obviously, the problem we had most of the trips is that the police sees you. I have a very dramatic story to tell. They want to stop you, not to fine you, but just to see how much the price of the bike, and how fast it goes. These were the 2 questions. Yeah, but you could waste an hour with the people. So if you give them a shirt and say that you're in a hurry, they say, can we take you out of the city? So they would guide you, escort you out of the city. But in one situation, we were in Rio. That's the reason we never went back to Rio, because Rio at that time was a very dangerous place. And we were riding the bikes one behind the other. The problem in Rio is that the people steal the iron covers of the cloacas, what do you say, the sewer. So for a car, it's not a problem because there are 4 tires and you can cross. But for a motorbike, obviously, you kill yourself. So we had to keep a certain distance from the car in front of us so that we could see them and avoid them. But each time we were more than 10 meters, another car would pass us and get into it. So it was a very complex situation. So we were driving, and suddenly 2 policemen see us. And I can see in the mirror that they jump on their bikes to catch us, because I think they wanted just to see us. Maybe we were driving too fast, I don't know, but anyway, I saw them coming, and one came to me and stayed at my side for a second, and then, because he was coming much faster, he put on his brakes. And the other one who's behind him didn't realize it and ran into him. And I could see in the mirror, and then on this mirror, that both sheered to their side and ran against the wall. I think they both killed themselves. We were going at a quite quite a speed. I don't know what happened to them, but we just accelerated. At the first exit, we took an exit, and then we jumped over a fence with the bikes over green, so that we took a totally different route in Rio de Janeiro itself, which is itself a very complex place to drive, and brought out of the city. In Rio, in Brazil, they told us that we should have a policeman with us. So we hired a policeman with a machine gun to go with us to the whole of Brazil until the Carretas de Iguazu, which is the border between Brazil and Argentina. And then we went down the Uruguay River. Mm. And of course, we had our helmets, and we didn't have much money to buy him a good helmet, so we bought him a helmet for a boy to do skating. In a plastic helmet, machine gun. Maybe there's a picture of this whole thing. This is the Magallanes. Can you just the previous one? This is the Strait of Magallanes. So this is in the southern part of Latin America, of Argentina, and this is the northern part, and we now go to the Tierra del Fuego, which was a wonderful thing. This is Torres del Paine. This is a wonderful
question.
Yes, sorry. Sorry. No.
We have
I need to take this one. Can you just for 1 second? Can you maybe go through some other pictures?
Yeah.
Sí, yo tengo perfectamente. Sí.
Eso de... That's Perito Moreno. García Perito Moreno. Yeah, Argentina. This is Asia. a good guess.
Looks like. Modern marvels.
Sorry.
We jumped from South America to Asia, I think.
Yeah, this is a wonderful picture. They had never seen, obviously, a European car. Yeah, and they'd never seen a Land Rover. They have their own Chinese cars. So we went to see. When you're in Lhasa, it's all touristic. It's terrible. Lhasa is really terrible. One day outside of Lhasa, the capital of Tibet, still tourist. But 2 days, it's absolutely unbelievable. Nobody's ever been there. There are no roads, of course. It's all Himalaya dirt roads. We try to be as close to the Himalaya as possible on the northern side, but as south as possible. Unbelievably beautiful, but obviously no cars. You will see some pictures there. Yeah, this is Tibet. Yeah, unbelievable. This is typical. Here, we went to one little village, and we went to each village has small hotels, so we went to sleep. After an hour, the owner of the little hotel came and said, "Everybody out. So why? No, militaries are coming. So and the militaries have to sleep. So we had already used the bathroom with everything, and we were thrown out and said, well, where should we go? Where should we sleep? Sorry, we can't sleep here. The only recommendation, go up the river because the water is a little bit cleaner. Yeah. So very, very, China is very dirty, very, very corrupt, dirty. It's complex. Lots of corruption, lots of anything. Right. So we had to spend the night. Can you just make the previous one? So we had to sleep here. Imagine, and the wind is coming from that side. So this was to protect the tents. And it was, by the way, the only time in China where in the 5 round the world trips where we slept on tent. I think once in Africa, I think there's another picture. Because traveling and sleeping in a tent just are not good travel companions. Because you get tired, and the motorcycle is dangerous, and the car is dangerous. So we prefer always to stay in hotels. So this was one night, and then it was very, very cold, at 4,000 meters altitude. Even in summer, it's really tough. Yeah, you sleep very, very, very poorly. These are the bridges, yes.
Rural areas like that in China.
Sorry?
How rural areas like that in China? How do you communicate with guys?
Interesting. Communicating is very easy if you smile. I think life becomes very easy anywhere in the world if you smile, and then you ask about the children. So you would meet an unfriendly policeman. You say, yeah. Then you give him a shirt. We never had a problem with languages. Iran, which is a complex country, one of the most complex countries in the world. Yeah. China, I would not recommend to go. I would not like to go back to China. Sorry, I hope there's nobody. It's really, really tough. The corruption, the lying. The people don't know. We ask them to Beijing, and because they're not allowed to move out of their territory, they're not allowed. It's each province that you cannot. So that the truck drivers, they don't know where Beijing is, or any city. And then
there's a system called Hukong where you have your local registration and you can't go to another city to start a new life because you don't have Hukong.
Yeah. So they don't know where Beijing is, and then because they're embarrassed to tell a tourist that they don't know where it is, that they say this way. And I say no. And then the GPS is modified. So you are in this place, and the reality, your GPS tells you that in this place. So they do that to avoid
On purpose?
bombing. Yeah, on purpose, to avoid bombing or whatever. Yeah. So it's.
And did you know that on advanced, or
Yeah.
you realized
we
that?
knew it. Yeah. So our GPS was of more or less of use. Yeah. We direct ourselves by the sun, and more or less one of the nicest things is to ask people. The only way to get integrated into the fabric of a different country is by talking to people. So we would love to stop in bars or restaurants, which are, by the way, very dirty in China. Maybe you'll see some pictures of that. But then you have a conversation with people. And that is the most rewarding thing, to talk to the local people and get their feet. This was a very dangerous situation. A bridge was broken because of this is in the Himalaya, because of the sea. And we had to go back like 200 kilometers to find a bridge to cross again. So one of us tested the depth of the water, and then we took the risk.
That guy.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah. That's Pujol. That's Pujol Junior. And these are the shirts which we made for the 10 cents. And sorry. So we'll probably see some more pictures of that. Yeah. So a little bit disorganized. This is Samarkand. Yeah. This is one of the most fascinating cities in the world. Yeah. Look at the art there. It's just fascinating. Very, very beautiful. This is in the Gobi Desert. We decided to cross all the deserts in the world, which Atacama, Sahara, Gobi, Tamataklan. These are maybe did I forget one? These are the most important. We crossed them on a straight line. Some of them we really ran into problems. As you can see here, we ran into a problem. Oh, this is beautiful. This is Namibia. This, I think, is the highest dune in the world. In Sossus Plain. Wow, you know that?
I've been there, yeah.
You've been there?
Yeah.
Isn't that beautiful?
It's supposed to be dead like.
Yeah. This is in Peru, near Cusco. Oh, this is beautiful. This is the sorry.
In Bolivia.
Yeah. And, Salar de Uyuni.
Salar,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So we crossed the Salar de Uyuni. Fascinating.
It's the biggest one in the world.
That's yeah. Look at this picture. It's just.
That's one. Helicopter.
Sorry.
Helicopter.
No, from a hill.
Ah.
There's from a long distance, but from a hill. Yeah. This is interesting. We were in Peru. In some cases, we would tell the government that we were coming. I need to tell the real story with the mayor of New York. And here, this is this was the.
Cusco.
That's near, it was near Cusco, yeah. A train from Cusco to Lima.
Yeah.
And this is at about 4,000 meters altitude, and this is the train of the president of Peru in the 1920s. And it has inside, it has a bath, it has 2 bedrooms, a kitchen, and somehow, I don't know what it is, a little terrace. So part of this is terrace. So we had lunch there, and then the car would bring us down. Beautiful. About the mayor of New York. On one of the trips, we went from from Dakar to New York with the motorbikes. And we brought them into the country. They passed customs, and the first thing we did is take them to BMW, just to make sure that everything is okay with them. And then at the last minute, I could not go to the trip. So a friend of mine took them there, but the mayor of New York, Michael Bloomberg, was going to receive us. So as I couldn't go, I called, said, well, I'm sorry, I can't go. No problem. Tell your people that it's in 1300 Broadway. That's where the mayor's office is. So I told my friends, and they had a man waiting at the entrance to let the motorcycles into the parking, and Bloomberg would come down and give us a speech, whatever. And this man saw our motorbikes passing by 1,300. They had not seen it. So he calls me in Spain, Gerardo, your people just passed the mayor's office. Is there a way you can tell them? I said, well, I don't know what to do, let me try. So I called one of the riders, Peter Levin, and said, and he picked up the telephone. He was on the bike and picked up the telephone. Said, Peter, you passed the mayor's office. I said, how do you know? And I said, Coño, I see you from the satellite. and he said, I said, you're wearing a helmet, aren't you? He said, yes. He said, why don't you say hello to me? So he apparently did that. I said, I can see you saying hello to me. I promise, I never told him the truth. He still believes today. Because he's such a good friend, I didn't dare to tell him that this was all fake. So anyway, they turned around, were received by Michael Bloomberg, and had a beautiful diploma saying that, well, Michael Bloomberg greets the crazy Spaniards coming to cross America. We're very proud that the initial trip in the Americas is through New York, and is the gate of freedom, of blah, blah, blah. So very nice. And then at another part of the trip, we went up to Anchorage, and I went to see the mayor of Anchorage. And said, well, we're here from Spain, and we're going now down to Ushuaia. Could you please give me a letter of recommendation to the mayor of Ushuaia? I said, why? I said, well, because I think it's nice that you both ends meet one day. So he wrote me a beautiful letter saying, dear colleague from Ushuaia, the other end of America, and these are my Spanish friends, and please treat them well and invite them to dinner or something like that. And so we have this wonderful letter. And then another time, I went to Mexico, and it was the inauguration of the ballet scene. And somehow I got an invitation to go there. I'd been told before, so I took a tuxedo, which I rolled in to, and took it on the bike. I put it on, and the president of Mexico was there, Ingeniero Ernesto Cerdillo. So, and somebody told him that I was there. So he asked if I could say hello to him. So I went to see him. And said, you're coming? I said, well, from Alaska. Where are you going? To Ushuaia. And he said, well, where are you going next? I said, well, tomorrow I'm going south. Ah, south. Don't stop in Chiapas. There is General Marcos, or who's from Mexico here? There's Mexicano. Coronel Marcos here. And don't go there. I said, where is that? Where is that? They said, well, in Chiapas. He started to spell it, Cheher. I said, no, that's exactly where I'm going tomorrow, to San Cristobal de las Casas, Chamula. Chiapas is one of the most beautiful places in Mexico. I said, no, don't go, it's dangerous, they will kill you. I said, don't worry, I will give you 2 cars, one in front of you, one behind me, so that they carry you. No, that's exactly what we don't want, because then Mr. Marcos will definitely kill us. We had no problem at all. I need to say, in this round the world trip, we never had the slightest problem, either physical or whatever. We were stopped a couple of times by sorry, Argentinians.
No.
Yeah. So they said to us, oh, give me your camera. I said, no, I can give you a camera. No, okay, I think you have drugs in your bike, so we'll take it with us. And said, please don't do that, because we have to go on. No, either you give us the cameras, or we will desmontar, disassemble your bikes. And then I said, well, I'm a reporter from Spain. I think this is a very interesting story. Can I take a picture of you and can you give me your names? I think because it's a story which I think I'd like to publish in our magazine. Then he went, no, go away. So, but this was the only problem we ever had in 5 round the world trips. I think we did I don't know, 1.5 million kilometers in total between all the 20 vehicles, and we never had the slightest problem with anybody's security. In Moscow, sometimes we felt a bit, there's definitely the mafia there and so forth. Never the slightest problem, which is wonderful. Yeah. I think people love motorcycles, and they don't like so much cars. So with cars are more intrusive maybe, I don't know, but whenever in Africa we entered a village, immediately 20 little children were running behind us, and we stopped, and they started to ask us questions. They want obviously dirhams and pence, that's what they always ask for. So we always had a collection of that with us. And then what we do, we put the 4 motorcycles in a row and then play volleyball. And they just love it. And then after 20 minutes, the parents would come and look a bit suspicious. They would ask us questions, become friends, and at the end we're having dinner at their homes and sleeping in the little huts in Africa, which is the most beautiful way to integrate into so much better sleep there than in a Holiday Inn hotel. So that was, I think, one of the most nicest things. So I think the previous one. This is in a place called Meroe it's in Sudan. Sudan is a wonderful country. It is like Egypt, south of Egypt, but Nubia, but 200 years away from the current Egypt. All the ruins are on the floor. You probably see some couple of pictures. Nothing's been taken care of. You can take everything home with you, whatever you want. Sorry, it's all a little bit mixed, but I thought that's okay. Look at these wonderful trees. Most of the people in Tibet, Buddhists, they walk from Lhasa to the holy mountain, which is called Mount Kashai. And then they have to walk like this, so they advance, then they get up, right down again, and that's the way they advance. It's unbelievable, the sacrifice they do, they think that it's helpful to them. Yeah.
Have you been to the toilet on the Potala Palace, the big white building you've seen there?
To the toilet, I don't know, but I have to be to a Chinese toilet. Chinese in a good, elegant restaurant, it's a long chain, and the people just one behind the other sit down, and you do whatever you want, and you see in front of you all what's happening to the. That's China, and the smell is just. China. It's unbelievable. This is to me the best picture of all. It's the 4 cars doing around the world with 4-lane road. I can tell you, it's not easy. And this is probably the most difficult place to get to with permits, permissions. It's very, very difficult. We were not allowed to drive at night. We had to turn off the lights. I'm not sure, for security reasons. We were not allowed after sunset to put the lights on. That's what they were. Very, very difficult. Amazing. These are the nice stories. It's just wonderful to see. This is the holy mountain. Nobody's allowed to climb that mountain. It's a holy mountain of the Buddhism. People from India are allowed into China without passport, without permit, anything, just to go to this mountain. Yep. And these are the fascinating roads in China, the Himalaya. You can see how. And what we did, we bought 2 bicycles in Lhasa for $25 each. Fantastic bikes. We put them on the roof of the car, go up to and then we were driving up to 5,500 meters altitude, and then we would, among us, and then one would have the privilege to drive from 5,000 meters down to 3,000 meters on these bikes. Very much fun. That's really. But look at the roads.
That's a typical road there.
Yeah, that's.
How many times did you get stuck? Because
no, stuck never. But
never.
We had, there was one day we had 16 punctures, and the punctures, unfortunately, are not a puncture. It's a cut. That's the bit. So most of the times the tires we had to just throw them away. You cannot sue them. There's nothing you can do. Very complex. This is again Uzbekistan. Look, the beauty. It's just
How difficult was it to get passports or permits or anything to go through into Uzbekistan?
very difficult. Yeah, that is. So I think 20% of the time was spent getting visas and permits and insurance and car import, export, all these things. it is complicated. Unfortunately, so this one tries to forget the tough part of the trip, but getting into Iran is impossible.
That's all just pre-planning. I mean, you never did it on the way.
But yeah, the problem I will never do around the world trip again is because of the timing. For instance, we had one big problem between Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan, and I'll tell you. We went into Uzbekistan and we were perfect, and we had a visa up to the 14th of February, say. So on the 14th of February, it's so bad, we leave the country, there's 30 kilometers of desert, and then we arrive in Turkmenistan. Stop, no foreigners allowed into the country, because we have elections next week, and we don't allow any potential terrorist act. So you're not allowed in the country. Go back. So we go back, we can't get in. So we go back, please let us in, we can't go back. Impossible, we cannot get into the country. So we had to call the Spanish ambassador in Moscow, who at that time was responsible for the ex-Asian, Central Asian countries. So Spain has no embassy there, and he was in Moscow. He flew over the same day, arrived there, took a car, came to see us. He then talked to the customs. They let us back into. We could not get into Turkmenistan. They let us back into Uzbekistan. I had to take the 4 passports back to Tashkent. We couldn't fly with an airplane because you need the passport, and they had confiscated. We couldn't use the passport. There we got a stamp, so we could spend another day. We went back to the border, and then we negotiated, and they would let us in just for traveling through the country for 2 days and entering into Iran at Mashhad, which is the border there. So we crossed very quickly through Turkmenistan, unfortunately, because it's a beautiful country, and they had elections there. So the day of the elections, we were there, and it was all on television. The president had died, the previous president died, and his son was now the president of Turkmenistan. And of course, the president in those countries makes in every village, in every city, big statues of themselves. So the first thing the new president did was destroy all those and put his own. So he destroyed the one of his father and put his own. And the day of his election, when he was named, he came with a big flower and put for himself the flowers in the statue. Like this, like this, and put for himself, which was comic. But the sad story is that in the capital of Turkmenistan, the statue is like 10 meters high of his father, was like this. Now he put the sun, and it turns with the sun. So in the morning, it's on this side. Do you know that? Or? It follows the sun. Yeah, so it follows the sun. But the children in school learn that it's not that the father goes with the son, it's the son that goes with the father. Yeah. I'm glad you do. It's unbelievable. You can't believe it. I'm glad that so they tell the children that the son follows the great leader, the father.
They say that the leader is the father of the
Turkmenistan.
They call him Turkmenistan, he's the leader of the population.
How do you know this?
I have a friend from there.
Yeah. Where are you from?
Russia.
Are you from Russia? Anyway, fascinating. Anyway, so this is all things you discovered. This is part of the team.
Did you know each other before, or you met?
Some of them yes, some of them no. For instance, I knew this one. I knew this one. No.
Did you have any
But obviously we had interviewed each other because it's very difficult. It's an extreme situation. It is complex, it's difficult, it's frustrating. At the border, you are in the sun. Once we were in the border between Morocco and Mauritania for 3 days in the sun. Again, funny story. One of the sons of Jordi Pujol came with us, and his father, Jordi Pujol, gave us a letter to the Moroccan government that they should let us through to Mauritania, because it's the Western Sahara. You know, so there's a big dispute who belongs to the country. So we got the permission to leave Morocco when we want it. Usually there's once a week there's a caravan, so everybody has to wait, and then once a week you're allowed to go through through the 100 kilometers of border. There are still a lot of landmines, so you can only stay on the coast. You're not allowed to move out. So it's quite complex. So we got a permission to leave Morocco at the day we wanted. So we get to the border of Mauritania, which is nothing. It's just a hill, and there's you can go along on both sides, but in the middle there's a barrier. So we stop there, and the policeman said, "What are you doing here? The border only opens in 3 days." We said, "Well, we have a permission." Nothing. So we had to stay in the middle of the desert for 3 days. No water, no shelter, nothing. Very frustrating. So even best friends can become enemies in such a situation. And you get upset because somebody eats the chocolate instead of the most ridiculous little things. Anyway, so this is probably one of the most fascinating cities in the world. Maybe is Kashgar. Kashgar, yeah. Kashgar is at the northwestern border of China with Tajikistan, and it's unbelievably beautiful. It's a very beautiful. This is here we have a beautiful. We pass in China, and it says 6,700 meters. It's a total lie. The highest pass in the world is 5,700 meters. So there is nowhere in the world a pass of 6,000. And it says it, so we took a picture. This is again one of the beautiful spots. This is a Toshka National Park in Namibia. Yeah, it's one of the very few. Look how beautiful. And this is the Skeleton Coast, also in Namibia. It's a coast where the water is very, very shallow, and the ships in the last century, they all stranded. There's a tremendous amount of rain. Here we took balloon. Yeah, and took a picture of our car driving through the desert in Namibia. Yeah, next one. There, here we have the puncture. This is the Susus Lake. Yeah, this is the Here we have the puncture. Beautiful picture. Susus Lake also. This is a typical petrol station in Africa.
Yeah, that's what I have a question with that. How did you manage to do your long ways without petrol? You know?
We had never a problem except China. In China, we had for 3,000 kilometers no petrol station. So we had to take a big truck, and he would leave at 4 in the morning, and we would meet at a certain point. Then we would get there. We would charge the trucks with petrol, with the diesel, and then we would continue, and he would arrive like 12 at night. They are also driving much slower than we are. And with the motorcycles, we didn't take the Himalayan route. We took a more civilized route. Where do you find the only place, interesting, we had a major way to buy a tank with 5 liters or 10 liters of petrol for motorcycles was in Chile. In the northern part of Chile, with the border with Peru, there were like 350 kilometers of no petrol station. And it's written there, no petrol station. So that's the only place we had to buy and put in the bag. But you see today so many motorbikes. The BMW 1200 GS Adventure, you know this bike? Yeah. It has 35 liters. It is so heavy. It's the last thing you want to take on an adventurous trip. It's a bike you want to take from Madrid to Barcelona on the freeway. It is so heavy, it's impossible to take it into the desert. If you fall, it's impossible to lift it. And today, except for some parts of Africa, you find petrol anywhere in the world, so you don't need it. But the motorcycle is so heavy, and the front wheel is like the back wheel. It's very small. If you want to do an adventure trip, you want a very light bike. When you fall, you can lift it up immediately. And you want a big tire in the front, because if you have a bump, the bigger the tire, the easier you get over it. The smaller the tire, you get stuck into it. And the weight of the front has to be as light as possible. The horquilla, the
Socks.
sock must be as long as possible to absorb. And the GS 1000 Adventure is just the opposite of what you want for an adventure bike. Yes, I think it was that question.
How many hours did you drove per day?
We will do maybe 3 in the morning and 3 afternoon. There again, we had big fights among our best friends, because we have one friend, Carlos Martinez Campos. He wanted to do 12 hours a day. He did 1,100 kilometers in one day in Egypt. Egypt is the most beautiful place in the world. You want to do 50 kilometers a day. So they're big. So the ideal thing is, say, to get up at 7 and leave early in the morning at 8 before it gets too hot, and drive from 8 to 12, which is maybe 200 kilometers. Because ultimately, you don't drive very, very fast. You stop, you take pictures, then you have lunch, you rest, you talk to people, then you drive again from 3 to 6, and then you rest in a hotel. And always you get into a village and you want to spend time with the people there, yeah. And you bring one thing and they give you something else, and then an exchange, and getting integrated into the fabric of these countries is, to me at least, the most beautiful thing. But I have friends who just want to ride and ride and ride, yeah.
Did you have everything booked in advance?
No,
Or-
never.
No.
Never anything, because you don't know where you're going to sleep the night. You don't know where, if you want to stop. So, well, we never booked anything. The saddest experience I had was in Switzerland, where we had booked a place where in Chur, which is a city in Switzerland. And we went up to one of the passes. It was 5 in the afternoon. The sun was setting. The air was clean. There was a little hotel there. I said, why don't we stay here? No, we booked the hotel down in the village. You couldn't even see the village, how dirty it is. Because the big problem with Switzerland is with the valleys, there's no wind. So the dust and the dirt and the pollution of the trucks who drive through Switzerland from Germany to Italy, it all gets stuck there. So you can see that the trees are in the valley all dead. And we were up in the hill and said, oh, we have to go down, we've prepaid the hotel. So never again make a mistake. You always find hotels. Yeah. You always find something. Obviously, you're going in August to the Côte d'Azur. Yeah. You always try to find. Yeah. Well, one of the other fun things, the best thing that happened to us, if you call in advance an embassy. So this was the embassy in Namibia, in Windhoek. So we called them in advance, and of course they're all excited because they are so bored in the Spanish embassies, because the only people who come here are people who want to sell sewing machines or want to buy oranges or whatever. And suddenly you find crazy adventures. And the first one, so they get there and say, you can stay in the embassy and blah, blah, so we arrive there with the cars and the children, all that. And then the wives, they get all sort of sad and nostalgic. And they ask their husband, the ambassador, can you allow me to go with them next day on the trip? So they all fell in love with the Robert Redfords of our trip. It became also an unbelievable romantic situation, but slightly dangerous. But always, and the children, they of course, they love the bikes and the cars. So this is, can you take the previous one? This is the Fish River Canyon. This is what, it is like the States, the canyon, the Colorado. Yeah, very similar, but as you can see, very, very little water. So here we were, and then we took a little one. This is in Sossus Lake. Yeah, no wind, wonderful weather. And this is in Namibia. You're allowed to go with cars, but you're not allowed to go with motorcycles. It's too dangerous, because you can suddenly find a tiger.
Yeah.
I met once in Alaska. I met on the road because it's cold. The heat. They sleep at lunchtime. The bears want to sleep on the hot pavement. So what do I do now? I had to wait because I didn't dare. They're very fast, and you don't have the time to turn around. So I had to wait until they made a little bit of noise, and then they got up and left. But it's dangerous. But you will find this is one of the nights in. This is in the capital of Sudan. Sorry, Khartoum. Thank you. This is in Khartoum. You just go in there and you take it with you. Yeah. You don't pay in the end. It's just all there. And this is in Meroe. These are beautiful, beautiful pyramids in Meroe in Sudan. And an Italian, about 100 years ago, had heard that the top was all gold. So that there were gold inside the rock. So he dynamited all the tops and didn't find any gold. It's, yeah, this is my daughter. Yeah. This is, sorry, you've seen this. This is the shirt you're getting. Just wonderful. And just, can you go back? You mentioned how beautiful this, I don't know whether this, I don't remember whether this, but it's in this road, it's just unbelievable.
There's always road, or there are some
Well,
places where.
We always try to go on dirt roads, yeah. But obviously there are many times you have to take the freeway, yeah.
Yeah.
But we always studied ahead of time, let's go
Where is the road?
to the,
You using largely like just maps and going old school, or you,
maps, yeah. We would find, yeah. Many times I didn't find the maps in Spain. There's one store in London, Stanton, which is probably the best map store in the world, and then in New York is another place. Yeah. But very often you don't find detailed maps where you want to go. This is in Costa Rica. This is the near Vladivostok, so the eastern part of Siberia, and so that's the beginning of Siberia up to Moscow. Obviously, the road gets better and better. One thing that I was not there on that part of the trip. It started to rain, and so this became you couldn't drive. So that most my friends had to stop, and it was raining. They couldn't go on. The mud was all over the place, and suddenly a military truck passed by with 8 wheels, or eight axes. And they stopped, and he said, "Yeah, I can take you with us." So they put the 4 motorcycles in the truck inside, and because there was no room where the pilot, the driver was, so he said, "No, don't worry, we sit in the truck." It was closed. He locked the door, and then he started to drive. And suddenly one of the motorcycles fell, and the petrol came out, and the whole thing, and they knocked at and he didn't hear it. And they were crying because it could explode, and the battery wasn't attached. Smell of motorcycle. So unfortunately nothing happened. 2 hours later they were totally open the door, "How are you?" Drama. Little dramas like this. Well, we had actually dramas, let me tell you about dramas. With one woman who died, she died at the dinner after a wonderful day driving. We had dinner, and suddenly she was 52 years old, a big smoker, just wanted to warn all of you. And she put her head on the table as if she was going to take a napkin which is foreign, and she was dead. She died suddenly. We don't know why, nothing. And it was a very difficult thing. Have you seen the film Babel? Yeah. It was Babel worse, because the police, the gendarmerie, the prefecture in Morocco, and they told the hotel to see if somebody put poison in the food. Then they went to the bedroom, then they closed everything, then we had to translate all her things of her belongings in the bedroom, we had to translate it into first into French and then to Arabic, so that the police would, it was a drama. And then the worst thing is that the Spanish ambassador at the time, I called her and said, "Well, we have a Spaniard who's died, can you please certify that that person coincides with the passport?" He said, "No, you have to wait on Tuesday." I said, "Well, it's Friday. A dead person cannot, for 4 days, there's no freezer here, nothing." He said, "Sorry, impossible. Stop by Casablanca next Tuesday." I said, "Sorry, we can't do that. Where are you?" I said, "Well, where are you? Tell me," and we come with the cadaver to your place. He was hunting, which was unexcusable. So anyway, when at 2 in the morning, he opened the coffin, looked at the passport, said yes, signed that, and he went to Casablanca and wanted to put the cadaver in the airplane. And in Spain, you cannot bring a cadaver into the country unless you have a place where to cementerio. So we needed on a Sunday to get the permission from the Cementerio de San Gervasi in Barcelona, which is impossible. Anyway, so somehow we got it, but then it needed a notarization that this worse than Babel. Yeah, unbelievable. But anyway, at the end, and I had to call at 2 in the morning her husband and say, "Carmen Naman says name, she just died. You want to make a autopsy?" And said, "No, just bring her back home." It was not. There was one accident, another one, a stupid Spaniard, a friend of mine. He drove at 120 kilometers an hour in the desert in Namibia, 10 hours away from the hospital. And he fell, fortunately he didn't bleed, but he lost his conscience and forgot the memory for a year or so. He did not have the memory what had happened. It took ambulance 10 hours, there was no helicopters, 10 hours to come to the place where he had fallen. But But the worst thing is that we didn't have, that there's no communication. So we had to drive like 3 hours to a small village where there was a farm. There was a nice gentleman, and he let us call the hospital in Windhoek, the capital of Namibia, or a truck to pick him up. And we had to leave the motorcycle there for a couple of days. Then he spent there maybe a week in Namibian hospital, and then on an airplane back to Spain. It was very, very complex. But these were the only two accidents, which we had 5 around the world, so we were very, very lucky. So anyway, this is also a beautiful picture. This was 8 o'clock in the morning in the Kremlin, and it's legally, well, it's strictly forbidden to bring motorcycles into the square. So we bribed one of the policemen. So we put the motorcycles, took the pictures, and immediately like 20 military came and so, but we were able to take these pictures. This is again, sorry, the previous one. This is again beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful. I see that you come with a helmet. You should try to do this like from Nouakchott to Nouadhibou. Yeah. This is the main road in Costa Rica. Now it's paved at that time. And the next one, this is just arriving in Ushuaia. So it's the
40?
Sorry?
40? The 40 route?
Yeah. 40.
Yeah.
Next one. This is Pacific Coast Highway. Yeah, it's south of Carmel. This is Bolivia. Yeah. Anyway.
If you would decide to go on another around the world trip, would you rather take a car or a motorcycle?
Motorcycle.
For what reason?
You get more involved into the fabric of the local culture. Yeah. A car is obviously much more comfortable, and you can talk in a car. We were always 3 people in the car. One would drive, the other one be co-pilot, and the other would sleep in the back. And we would then always turn around. Yeah. But the adventure is really with the bike. It's more authentic, but it's complex because you don't have much stuff with you. You can fall. Yeah. I would recommend with a bike, but at least 3 people. So you fall, somebody stays with you, and the other one goes for help. Yeah. 4 is okay, yeah. But it's complex. I would not recommend at this point in time to. Now it's impossible. We went through Libya. We spent a great time in Libya, which is beautiful. We went through Syria. We went through Pakistan. Now it's very difficult to these countries. This is the Sahara Desert. Beautiful, beautiful. This is one of the most beautiful pictures. One of us was driving in a car, because you're not allowed in Mauritania to drive alone. You have to have a guide driving with you. And just when he took the picture, the only young person in 200 kilometers, we just picked him up. Which is very beautiful. I think we've seen this.
I think we are.
Yeah. So these are the. I think the show the picture again. The previous one. No, the next one. No, this one. Isn't this a nice? This is in Alaska. Yeah. It's just unbelievable. Look how clean the water is. It's just unbelievably beautiful. Yeah. BMW started giving us all for free but after I think 10 legs they stopped doing it. It was too much now. But BMW treated us very, very well. And we did with them 3 times. And then twice with the Land Rover. Questions?
I assume that a lot of persons from this room. I'm sorry.
Sorry?
I assume that a lot of persons in this room considering the GS 1200 for like a best motorcycle for adventure ride, but it handles like really differently when it's with a full tank and when it's like empty, and you have to consider a lot of technical difficulties with BMW. I guess you got lucky because nothing broke, but I know a lot of people.
Sorry, no, I didn't say that. No, right.
I'm sorry.
We every 50,000 kilometers we would break the back part of the car down. So there's the engine, and there's a tube.
I was coming to that part.
The angle was just half degree off. So after 50,000 kilometers, beautiful adventures. There was oil and little pieces of metal. So the first one broke in near Guadalajara in Mexico in the middle of the desert. So we